Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Every 2 years, with regularity which is appreciable, we find a compendium of what we deem to be the last word on environmental monitoring. And this biennial 2022 Environmental Performance Index of various countries was released. The report is really exhaustive. It covers and ranks 100 countries, and for its ranking it uses 40 performance indicators. And in this report we find a very damning evidence which will deem two ways. It puts India at the last. It is at 180 number based on the 40 performance indicators. But is the report reliable? Is it worth its weight even? As a garbage, it's not. Is just junk. You see, there are lies, there are damn lies, and there is statistics. Statistics can always be modulated, the data can be modulated to present apparently true picture, but at that time it is absolutely misleading. And somebody may wonder if this report was prepared with a meant purpose of denigrating India. Or is it a part of the conspiracy to ensure that India, which has got political stability and economic stability and is the fourth largest economy in the world, should be denigrated for some ulterior purposes? I can't say. But look at the methodology adopted. Even that has not found acceptance in any academic or scholarly discussion. I have been having that discussion for the last few days, and I find that the methodology is lopsided, undependable, unscientific. The use of the data which is procured from multiple sources, some of them very reliable, some of them not reliable, but the weeding of the unreliable sources doesn't seem to have been done. Of course, if the government data is included. But overall, the report does not accept information directly from the government. Okay, I believe that the government may like to suppress some information and may like to highlight some other information. But it cannot provide misleading information. So the responsibility of the surveyors and the report writers, and I have been heading a consultancy organization for donkey's years, and mine was the only private organization which was the partner organization of United Nations. So we procure data which is reliable from government and from the private sources, and then try to find out the correlation. Notwithstanding the particular association that they are evident in the report, I would not deny that the report does present some very useful insights. The insights, however, are camouflaged and only very discerning eye can see them. Overall, it's a damning picture of a country with an ulterior purpose. The most important ones are that the ranking does not accurately reflect India's performance. And in the indicators such as air quality, it is definitely a reminder of the need of urgent action, which is a fact. So there is a curious mixture of fact and fiction, manipulation and reality. And such reports, such as EPI, Environment Index, Performance Index, need to be seen in the light of two aspects. And if I see them from two aspects, I find that the report is lacking in its very purpose and doesn't meet the ends for which it has been, the money and the time and the effort has been spent. The first is, you cannot forget that 1 out of every 6 human beings lives in India. Second, today, India's cumulative carbon dioxide emissions, and I am saying cumulative till 2019 because the report was prepared in 2019, are a mere 3% as against 47% of USA and European Union combined. So the population combined of USA and European Union is almost half of India. But they emit 47%, while India emits 3%. And yet, India comes at the end of the ranking. Imagination boggles. In other words, the earliest countries to industrialize have emitted most of the greenhouse gases. And the first countries were, of course, Europe and then America. And they are the guiltiest parties. 47% of the world's total emission is by USA and European Union. And these countries also happen to be the best EPI performers. Imagine it. The worst performers are deemed to be the best performers. Now, given this index, the reality is that India performs quite well in per capita terms. Why do you take up humans total? You cannot group a mass with an individual. The area-wise, India is much smaller than USA and European Union combined. Population-wise is double, and yet its emissions are just 3% as compared to 47%. And if you look at the per capita, it's even less. Now, in this context, as I said, India performs per capita best. Now, to illustrate this, the greenhouse gas intensity of growth is a measure of progress in decoupling emissions from the economic growth. You cannot have economic growth and emissions go together. They should go together. But let's say we decouple it. Then in that case also, if you look at that report, you will find that India ranks 34, while USA ranks at 44, and Germany at 48. And yet India is at the end of the ranking. I cannot understand how the data is manipulated mischievously or willfully or by stupidity. But it's there. Now come to this is, as I am saying, the totality. Now look to the per capita greenhouse gas emissions in India. They are 53 and they are ahead of Norway. EPI data itself shows that India's economic rise has come with a much smaller environmental footprint, much smaller as compared to other countries. Even China, which is the latest to jump up. USA, Europe. Name the country, and India's economic progress compared with the emissions, the carbon footprint, it is much smaller. Therefore, it's in everybody's interest to craft a mechanism to make technology widely available. Now, let's look at the per capita consumption. The per capita energy consumption in 2019 for air conditioning was just 27% of the world average. The world average is 272 kilowatt hour. And India was 45 something. Just 25%. And yet India is guilty of being the worst performers. So what does that show? But then let's go further. This gap, but I'm talking about between the per capita consumption and the cutting edge technology which is being adopted, when this cutting edge technology which is already being adopted in Europe and in US is adopted in India, the growth and the economic impact would be much smaller. So while those countries are unable to reduce their footprint any further because they are using the latest technology, India is in the process of upgrading the technology. So naturally, the gap will be reduced appreciably. Then this index also shows that India performance on air quality is abysmal. That I fully agree. That the air quality is horrible. But then let's not forget, this report is of 2 years. But they have ignored that in 2020, Government of India had promulgated an ordinance because legislative decision would have taken longer time. So ordinance was promulgated to give immediate attention to air quality. The Pollution Control Board data shows that poor air quality is mainly on account of post-harvest practices of agriculture and also natural causes beyond the control of anybody. So the solution lies within the country, of course. I don't blame anybody. For instance, not all farmers burn stubble to clear the field. You see, what happens in India is, and that impacts the foreigners, because the media propagates that stubble burning is common. It's not. Today, the rice husk is being utilized. And I remember my organization preparing a report on using the rice husk for about 72 applications, including doors, windows, medium density board, and so on. Bricks even. That report was commissioned by Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and we had presented to them. And we have seen that only 23% of farmers burn stubble to clear field. So where stubble has an economic value and has a market, it's not burnt. It's burnt where it's surplus and is not able to be utilized. So government can, of course, compress coordination timelines to link farmers to the relevant markets. That should be done. But that is not the basic cause. The cost-effective solutions to reduce the impact of natural causes, such as dust, need attention right away. Now when the dust comes from Rajasthan, crossing Aravalli, comes to Haryana and Delhi, naturally the air quality will go down. So what we have to do is to rethink the role of public transport. I fail to understand why India has not banned the use of cars in the central districts of Delhi and Bombay. What Singapore has done is quite appreciable. And it's quite possible to do it. Every minister who moves with a convoy of cars. Why? So these small things can go a long way, and I fault the Indian people for that. But overall, this is a biased report. Then a new indicator of the climate policy objective is a projected GHG emissions in 2050. This is computers based on average rate of change of emissions in the last 10 years. Now, isn't that stupid? How can the last 10 years be based on the future? Because the technology is taking a quantum jump. The way, for example, in India, the mechanical typewriter was replaced immediately by the computer. In between, from mechanical typewriter, we had electric typewriter, then we had electronic typewriter, then the computer. But India did not go into electric typewriter. It went to the electronic typewriter in a very small segment, but it jumped, and it's a quantum jump. So to base your future projection based on the 10 years, without considering the leapfrogging that is done is again mischievous. If it's willful, it's mischievous. If it's unwillful, it is just rank stupidity. And I want to call a spade a spade. I don't want to be politically correct. The modeling they have taken takes into account the longer time period with extent of renewable energy capacity and use, additional carbon sinks, energy efficiency. And just see the way now the renewable energy is used. India is number one in the wind energy. Is going to be number one in the solar energy. So the emissions would automatically be almost zero. Now the forests and the wetlands of the country are crucial carbon sinks, but they have not been factored in while computing the projected greenhouse gas emissions up to 2050. How can you ignore forests and wetlands which India has? The historical data on the lowest emission trajectory has been ignored in the computation, and it is said while rejecting its analysis. They admitted we are ignoring it. Why? So the principle of equity is given low vote weightage in the form of indications of the greenhouse gas emissions. Common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities, these are the important parts. And they basically are to be given the principle of equity. The indicators then on water quality, water use efficiency, waste generation per capita, which are closely linked to sustainable consumption, are also not included. The water quality is increasing, water use efficiency is there are smart meters being used, waste generation per capita is increasing 35%. In countries like Canada and US, it increases by 2.3%. So the index emphasizes the extent of protected areas rather than the quality of protection they afford. Not the total area, but look at the quality. The quality is A1 and the area may be less, so the totality of the greenhouse gas emissions would be less. The measurement effectiveness, evaluation of protected areas, eco-sensitive regions has not been factored into the report. And the biodiversity indices that we are absolutely defective. The index, compute the extent of ecosystems, but it doesn't take into account their condition and productivity. It does not take into consideration indicators like agrobiodiversity, which is extremely important for a country like India, which is agrarian economy. It doesn't take into consideration the soil health. It does not include food loss and the waste. And we know the food loss in USA and Canada and Europe is the highest in the world. As a matter of fact, the food which is wasted in USA, if properly used, can feed the whole of Africa. So they are important for developing countries with large populations, especially agrarian populations. And all of them have been ignored. So can you then accept this report as something reliable, something acceptable, something which should guide the government to formulate its policies? No. As I said, it's junk. And the report needs to be junked. And the government of India should tell that the report is not only junk, which the ministry has said it. I had a talk with some senior officers, Food Secretary. And when I read the report, my comment was, it's bullshit, it's junk. Don't even throw in the garbage because it will just spoil the garbage. Any report, even if it's lopsided, can send a wrong picture. And what happens, the media, which is anti-India, picks up the wrong information, projects it, thereby lowering the morale of the people as well of the Indians. So it's One word would be sufficient. The report needs to be rejected outright with no consideration being given to the other points. That's the way. As a matter of fact, the India should tell them and publish its own part of the report, which is proper, and then India would not get 180. Maybe it will be among the first 15. Think about it. Thank you.